Marcus and Elena had always embraced the quiet, peaceful life they had built on the distant colony. Far from the chaos of galactic politics and war, the colony was a haven for pioneers, scientists, and explorers. Elena, a brilliant scientist, had dedicated her life to a revolutionary project, an energy device capable of powering entire star systems. Her work was her passion, but it was also her gift to humanity, something that could reshape the course of the galaxy. Marcus, once a soldier, now found purpose in supporting her, in making sure she could do what she loved in safety. Their modest home sat at the edge of the colony, a small but sturdy structure blending in with the natural beauty of the world they inhabited. The sun, low in the sky, bathed the landscape in an orange glow, and the sounds of wildlife filled the air. To Marcus, it felt like a dream, a life where a past full of violence and loss, was just that, the past. Yet, even in this paradise, something was always on the edge of his mind. The news from the galactic networks had been filled with reports of attacks from a mysterious group of assassins. Worlds fell silent, colonies vanished overnight, and key figures in galactic society were eradicated with brutal efficiency. Though the assassins had never made their way this far out, Marcus couldn't shake the feeling that it was only a matter of time. Elena would always brush off his concerns. "It's just paranoia," she would laugh, her eyes lighting up as she adjusted the holographic display in front of her. "We're too far out. No one is going to find us here." But Marcus wasn't so sure. His military instincts, honed in countless skirmishes and wars, told him that peace like this was always temporary. He couldn't forget the cold, calculating eyes of those who had trained him, soldiers who killed with no remorse, following orders without question. He couldn't help but feel that their peaceful existence was a fragile thing, easily broken by the forces beyond their control. The days passed, each one slipping by in a routine of work and relaxation. Elena's energy research advanced, inching closer to something truly extraordinary. Marcus, ever the protector, maintained the colony's security systems, prepared for any possible intrusion, though it all seemed unnecessary. Still, his unease grew, gnawing at him. On the evening of the latest report about an assassin strike in another system, Marcus watched the broadcast with a frown. The usual reports flashed across the screen, of devastated worlds and missing leaders, but one image struck him. A deep shiver ran through him. It was a picture of a recently hit colony, its buildings smoldering in the aftermath. The destruction was precise, methodical, and there was no sign of resistance. Elena walked in, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "What is it?" she asked softly, noticing his tense posture. "They're getting closer," Marcus muttered. "The assassins. I think they might be coming for you." She smiled and walked over, placing a hand on his shoulder. "It's just rumors. We're too far from the center of it all. You worry too much." But as she spoke, a distant sound reached their ears, low at first, then louder, a faint hum. A shiver ran down Marcus's spine. It was the unmistakable sound of something huge, something alien, approaching. He turned sharply, staring out the window at the horizon. The blood-red glow of an unfamiliar ship, larger than anything they'd ever seen before, descended toward the colony. "Elena," he said, his voice steady but urgent, "get to the safe room now." For the first time, Elena saw the fear in his eyes. It was real. The assassins were here, and everything they had worked for was about to be destroyed. The peaceful colony erupted into chaos. As Marcus shoved Elena toward the safe room, the ground trembled with the shockwaves of incoming fire. Blinding explosions rippled through the air, reducing the buildings around them to rubble. The sky was streaked with trails of plasma fire as the assassin ships descended like vultures. Marcus could feel the heat of the blasts even from within their home. His mind raced, each second stretching like an eternity. "Stay close," he ordered, voice firm as he pulled her down the hall. The sounds of screams and destruction echoed from outside, followed by the unmistakable hum of advanced weaponry. The assassins were here. Elena looked at him, her expression filled with confusion and fear. "Marcus, what's happening? Why are they attacking us?" Her grip on his arm tightened. "They're here for your research," Marcus replied, his voice betraying no emotion. He didn't have time to explain. The enemy didn't care for questions or reasoning. They only sought destruction. "I need you to stay hidden. No matter what." The safe room was designed for moments like this, with reinforced walls and advanced security features. Elena knew it would keep her safe, but the thought of leaving Marcus to fight alone was unbearable. She tried to protest, but he silenced her with a glance. "Listen to me," he said, his gaze piercing through the storm of panic. "You can't help me now. Stay here, keep the data safe. I'll make sure they don't get it." The intensity in his voice left no room for argument. Elena nodded reluctantly, stepping back into the room as Marcus closed the door behind her. Outside, the battle had already begun. The assassins moved swiftly, each step precise and deliberate, their energy weapons glowing with deadly intent. Marcus stepped into the chaos, his instincts immediately taking over. He wasn't just a man anymore, he was something else, something darker. But in that moment, it was what he needed to be. He grabbed a piece of debris from the wreckage, something sharp and solid. His grip tightened around it, his fingers flexing with the power that surged through his body. He knew these killers, he knew their ways. They had slaughtered countless colonies, and now they would learn just how wrong they were to underestimate a human. As one assassin approached, Marcus spun and lunged, his weapon striking with brutal efficiency. The alien staggered backward, its armored form unable to withstand the force of Marcus's attack. The assassin fell, and Marcus moved on, his movements fluid and relentless. The once peaceful man was now a force of nature, an unstoppable rage driving him forward. Despite his efforts, the number of assassins seemed endless. They were ruthless, their tactics designed to overwhelm and outmaneuver. They didn't care who or what they destroyed in their mission to capture Elena's work. Marcus fought with everything he had, but his mind never strayed from the task. Protect Elena and the future she had worked so hard to build. But then, a sharp pain shot through his side. He turned, catching a glimpse of the assassin leader, standing at the back of the group, a malevolent smile on his face. He had seen enough to know that Marcus was a threat. With a flick of his wrist, a burst of energy shot from his weapon, striking Marcus in the chest. The impact sent him crashing into a pile of debris, pain radiating through every inch of his body. His vision blurred, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow down. But as he struggled to regain his breath, something within him stirred. Something ancient, something fiery. The rage he had buried for so long flared up, consuming him entirely. The leader of the assassins didn't see it coming. As Marcus rose from the wreckage, flames erupted around him, enveloping his body in an infernal aura. His eyes blazed with a fiery intensity, and the very air around him seemed to crackle with power. The Ghost Rider had awakened. The fire within Marcus burned hotter than anything he had ever felt before. His body felt different, stronger, faster, more attuned to the raw power coursing through him. His eyes, once human, now glowed with a fiery intensity. The Ghost Rider had awakened, and with it, a surge of untold rage and power that Marcus could no longer control. The assassin leader had made a grave mistake by underestimating him. Now, the cost of that mistake would be paid in blood. The leader's confident smirk faded as Marcus stood, his body surrounded by swirling hellfire. The ground beneath him cracked, the heat radiating outward as if the very earth itself feared what he had become. The assassins paused, their weapons still aimed at him, but the fear in their eyes was palpable. They had never faced anything like this before. Marcus's transformation was complete. His motorcycle, forged from the fires of hell itself, materialized beside him, its infernal engine roaring to life. He swung his leg over it, the roar of the engine deafening in the otherwise silent chaos. The Ghost Rider was not bound by the rules of reality, and these assassins would soon learn that their technology, no matter how advanced, stood no chance against the raw fury of vengeance. With a deafening roar, Marcus revved the engine, tearing across the battlefield with a speed that defied logic. The assassins scattered, trying to regroup, but they were no match for the power that surged through him. He slammed into the first group, the force of his impact sending them flying like ragdolls. Their plasma weapons were no match for the hellfire that erupted from his body, scorching everything it touched. Each movement, each strike, was fueled by the wrath of a man who had lost everything. His power was unstoppable, his fury relentless. The assassins who had once been so sure of their victory were now scrambling, caught in a nightmare they couldn't escape. One by one, they fell before him, their bodies burning with hellfire as they writhed in agony. As the last of the assassins attempted to flee, Marcus pursued, his motorcycle streaking across the debris-littered landscape. He caught up to the leader, who had somehow managed to survive longer than his comrades. The leader's eyes widened as Marcus approached, knowing that the end was near. The Ghost Rider's hand reached out, grabbing the assassin by the throat. The air around them seemed to warp with the intensity of Marcus's rage, the heat unbearable. The leader struggled, but his strength was nothing compared to the supernatural force that held him. With a grim expression, Marcus spoke the words that sealed the assassin's fate. "You should never have come here." With that, the hellfire engulfed the leader, consuming him from the inside out. His screams were cut short as his body was reduced to ash, the last remnants of his existence vanishing into the inferno. Marcus stood in the ashes, the fiery aura around him slowly dissipating. The colony lay in ruins, the once peaceful place now a graveyard. But for Marcus, there was no sense of relief, no satisfaction in his victory. Elena was gone, her sacrifice burned into his mind forever. He had avenged her, yes, but the cost was immeasurable. As the fire within him began to subside, Marcus stood alone amidst the destruction, the weight of his actions settling in. The Ghost Rider had come to protect humanity, to avenge the innocent, but the price of that vengeance was always steep. And though the assassins had been defeated, Marcus knew that this would not be the last time he would be called upon to fight. For now, there was nothing left but the flames of vengeance and the echo of a lost future. The fire that had consumed Marcus now began to fade, leaving behind a hollow silence. The destruction was complete. The assassins were gone, their bodies reduced to ash and their threat extinguished. Yet, as Marcus surveyed the smoldering remains of the colony, a deep emptiness settled within him. Elena was gone. Her laughter, her warmth, the promise of their future. Everything had been taken from him in an instant. He approached the ruins of their home, his heart heavy with grief. There was no comfort to be found in his victory. He had avenged her, yes, but it felt hollow. The data she had worked so hard to protect was still safely hidden, but the price of that victory was too high. Nothing would ever bring her back. As the sun set, the sky now a deep crimson, Marcus turned his gaze to the horizon. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and enemies beyond his comprehension. He had once been a soldier, a man who fought for a cause. But now, as the Ghost Rider, he was something more, something forged from the pain of loss and the fire of vengeance. He knew what he had to do. The galaxy would not stop. More threats would rise, more dangers would emerge, and humanity would need protection. Elena's work was too important. She had seen a future where humanity could thrive, a future that he would now carry forward in her stead. Her dream would not die with her. Marcus mounted his hellish motorcycle once more, the fire within him flickering but not yet extinguished. He could feel the weight of his responsibility settling on his shoulders. It was not just vengeance he carried. It was a promise to humanity, a promise to protect the innocent, to make sure that the assassins, and those like them, would never have the chance to destroy what they had built. As the motorcycle roared to life, Marcus sped off into the unknown, leaving the ruins of his past behind. The galaxy was vast, and the threats it harbored were endless, but Marcus knew one thing for certain. Humanity was not weak. Humans had the spirit to survive, to fight, to protect what mattered most. And as long as the Ghost Rider burned, humanity would never be erased. The road ahead was uncertain, filled with shadows and dangers, but Marcus was no longer just a man. He was vengeance incarnate, and no one, no alien, no assassin, no force in the galaxy, could stand in his way. His path was set, his purpose clear. The fire within him would burn as a beacon to all those who thought humanity was weak, a warning that they had underestimated the will of the human spirit. Humanity stands tall, always, and with that, Marcus disappeared into the stars, a ghost of vengeance riding through the cosmos, ensuring that the legacy of his people would never fade.